Life is a stage. It comes from an answering machine message I heard when I was in high school. It says, all life is a stage, and the people merely players, which means actors. Okay? Luke chapter 12, verse 1. Let's read it together, even if your translation's a little different. Meanwhile, the crowds grew until thousands were milling about and crushing each other. Jesus turned first to his disciples and warned them, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. Beware of their hypocrisy. Let's read through to verse 3, okay? The time is coming when everything will be revealed. All that is secret will be made public. Whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light. And what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops for all to hear. Okay, you may be seated. Luke chapter 12, verse 1, Jesus said, beware, don't we? Because we use it to make our bread rise. The other thing that they use yeast in, who knows? Alcohol. Yes, to make beer and other alcohols. Okay, so that's not such a great usage of yeast. But even though we use it for some good purposes in bread, yeast is a fermenter. It is a corrupter. And what yeast does is it spreads throughout the entire loaf or batch of alcohol that they're making. And so a little bit of yeast begins to spread, and it corrupts. Like I said, we do sometimes use it for good purposes. And Jesus used yeast as good examples at sometimes too. So I want to use this water this morning. I'm going to drink a little first. And I need you to use your imagination with me and pretend that this is not Swiss Miss hot chocolate, and instead that this is some kind of a poisonous dirt, okay? Last time I tried to pretend it was, and then y'all were on to me like white on rice. And you were like, yeah, I'll drink it, because you knew it was just chocolate. Okay? So we put a little bit of chocolate in. We put a little bit of poisonous, terrible dirt in. And what is it going to do? Is it just going to affect the top layer? At first, but you see how it's slowly starting to corrupt the entire bottle. And then when life shakes the bottle up, right? And everything goes topsy-turvy. The entire bottle of water is corrupted by that little bit of dirt that I put inside. And so Jesus said, beware the yeast of the Pharisees. And what he was talking about is beware of something they do that will spread like a cancer. Right? That's what cancer does. It starts a little bit in your body, and it grows and spreads until it takes over your whole body. He says, beware of something that they do, that if you allow even a little bit of it in your life, it will spread throughout your whole life, and it will corrupt you, and it will destroy you. And what was it that Jesus said was the yeast of the Pharisees? He said, beware of their hypocrisy. Nobody would want to drink this if it was really dirt, because the whole bottle is contaminated. Okay? Hypocrisy comes from a Greek word. Hippokrates. Everybody say that with me. Hippokrates. And Hippokrates was an everyday word that they used in everyday language. And it wasn't to mean hypocrite. Hippokrates was an actor on stage. So next time you watch a TV show, you can point at the actors and say, what a hypocrite. And it'll be true, because the Greek word Hippokrates was an actor. And so we take the word hypocrite from that, because a hypocrite is what? A person who is not genuine, but they are acting. A person who is acting like something that they are not. Right? And so when you're a hypocrite, oftentimes you say one thing and do another, because your actions are portraying what you really are, whereas your words are you acting. Well, sometimes people don't just say things, but they do things that are hypocritical as well. And it's because it is acting. When you're a hypocrite, what you see is not real. It is somebody acting for the benefit of an audience. These Pharisees, when they would go around, and we'll look at one in a minute, everything that they did was for show. It was to impress people with how spiritual they were, and how smart they were, and how great they were, and how powerful they were, and how wonderful they were. and everything was for show, and with them nothing was genuine. And Jesus said, beware of this. Let me give you an example. Bob Saget. Who knows who Bob Saget is? Bob Saget was the actor on Full House, not the Korean drama Full House, the American drama Full House. Now, Full House is wonderful because it brought us Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, the Olsen twins. I remember them, and I watched them when they were little bitty babies playing the baby on Full House. Bob Saget is also the host of America's Funniest Home Videos. Who knows that? Okay? That guy is Bob Saget, unless they've changed hosts by now. I don't know. He also did that 1 versus 100 show recently. Okay, and so Bob Saget, when you look at him on Full House, and he's like the wonder dad, the perfect dad, always giving out good advice to his kids, right? And he was kind of a little bit nerdy, too. And then, oh, so you remember. And then on America's Funniest Home Videos, what kind of show is that? It's a family show, right? Well, I heard on NPR recently, they did an interview with Bob Saget. And I realized that that was never the real Bob Saget. Because he did I didn't watch it, but I heard them interview him about it. And he did either an HBO or a Showtime comedy special. And it was full of raunchy humor and bad language. And he told the person that was interviewing him, that's the real him. Before he went to Full House, that's what his humor was like. After he's gone from these family shows, that's what his humor is like. And that it was very difficult for him when he was portraying this great family-oriented person. It was very difficult for him to act that way because it's not the real him. And so America has grown up for 10, 15, 20 years loving this great wholesome family man, Bob Saget. And he's not a great wholesome family man. What is he? He's a hypocrite. No, he's a literal hypocrite. He's a hypocrites. He's an actor on a stage, pretending to be somebody he's not, which is okay because that's his job. He's trying to make a TV show. It's not okay that he's raunchy and uses bad language, but that's an issue for him to deal with. But we look at people who are actors and we see them in their TV roles or their movie roles, and we know, don't we, that that's not the real them. So it wasn't that big of a surprise to me when that happened because I know he's getting paid to act. He's supposed to act. But what about when in our real lives we're like this? That people see us for years and think something about us, and all it is a show. All we're doing is putting on a show of how great we can be. Or in different part of our lives, different people see us differently, so that we come to church and we act all spiritual. But then, you know, we've been acting spiritual for 10, 15, 20 years. And, well, none of you teenagers have been acting spiritual for 20 years yet. And it's all been just a show. And the real you comes out the moment that you leave the church building. Jesus warned about being unreal in 2 ways in Matthew chapter 6. Turn to Matthew chapter 6. Okay? And so Jesus, when he was talking about beware of the yeast of the Pharisees, beware of their hypocrisy, what he was saying is, beware of being unreal. Beware of being fake. And there's 2 kinds of hypocrisy that he talked about in Matthew chapter 6. And the first one is hypocritical actions. In this case, it was hypocritical kindness. It was Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. Take care. Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired, because then you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven. When you give a gift to someone in need, don't shout about it as the hypocrites do, blowing trumpets in the synagogues and streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I assure you they've received all the reward they'll ever get. But when you give to someone, don't tell your left hand what your right hand is doing. Give your gifts in secret, and your Father who knows all secrets will reward you. So literally, these guys, I told you everything was for show. They would, you know, the guy would be begging for money on the street, the homeless man with the cup, right? And they never gave him $1 because that doesn't make noise going in. They would throw in coins so everybody could hear them jangling. And look at me, I gave that money to the homeless man. I'm great. Hey, did you see I just put a $100 bill in there? Right? They would draw attention to it. And why? Because they cared about that man? No. They gave because they wanted everybody to see how good they were that they gave. And Jesus said, listen, when you do your acts of kindness, right? When you do something to help people, when you do your actions, don't do it for show. Don't do it because people are watching. But instead, do your best work in secret when nobody is looking, because then you'll know that it's genuine work. Okay? It's not that nobody should, you know, it's not like, you know, if somebody finds